Jalen Smith has popped up in some trade rumors amongst the Los Angeles Lakers. And while they are interesting on today's episode, I want to say and tell the Chicago Bulls, if you trade in Jalen Smith, don't trade him just yet. And I'll give my reasons. And then I also want to touch on Bryson Graham being a huge fan to Bennedict Mathurin. Y'all know we're going to talk about it, break it all down, but you gotta hear the music first. Cognac, gang. Shy Boys podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down for today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in, like what you're listening to today, make sure you go ahead and support the channel the easiest way possible by simply hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Definitely can't wait for the Chicago Bulls to hit the damn basketball court and we can get on with the fall and the winter. But in the meantime, let's jump into some content in regards to Jalen Smith. I have my reasons on why the Chicago Bulls should be cautious. And while there may be some, little tidbits out there for the sake of Jalen Smith, I'm cautioning the Chicago Bulls to just hold off just a little bit longer for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons is that I'm looking at is that I don't think there's a huge market for a guy like Jalen Smith quite yet. One mock trade that has been placed out there and has linked Jalen Smith to a team like the Los Angeles Lakers is a trade I am not really feeling too good about. So the trade includes trading Jalen Smith onto the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Jake LaRavia and Dalton Connect. Now, some may say, well, that's pretty decent. And if they add in a couple second round picks, that might sweeten the deal. To me, it ain't sweet. This is a bitter ass drink that I'm not really a huge fan of. I look at a guy like Jake LaRavia who comes in at about 6'7", and then, pretty much helped the Los Angeles Lakers in a lot of games last year. Pretty much played in all 82 games for the Los Angeles Lakers while averaging 8 points and giving them about 4 rebounds a game. And not really that great of a shooter from the three-point line at just 32%. Now, when you talk about Dalton Connect, man, I thought he was really going to be something coming out of Tennessee. I was really intrigued to see him in the draft, to be honest with you, and I was anxious to hear C-Dub on our live calls with Dalton Connects. Look, it may be a little corny, but I thought it would have been fun because me saying it wouldn't do it for the masses. But when if C-Dub would have had the opportunity to say that for a Chicago Bulls team, I think y'all would have felt it a little bit more. But Dalton Connect, while intriguing at 6'6" as a basketball player, has pretty much fell into the dumps for the Los Angeles Lakers. If we look just last year, he only appeared in 54 games, only gave them 4 points in those games, and shot 34% from the three on 2 attempts. So not really the three-point shooter I imagine him being coming out of Tennessee. And I thought that he was going to have a little bit more of a larger role for a Los Angeles team. And I remember, I believe not this past year, but the year prior, there was some trade that the Los Angeles Lakers were trying to include him in. That trade fell through and he went back to LA, and it ain't been great ever since. Now, I understand the other side to the discussion of saying, hey, you can garner the second round picks. You can look at a guy like Jake LaRavia, and maybe you get a guy like Dalton Connect, who a change of scenery may do some good for him, but it's just not really that enticing. And I think that if you're getting rid of one of your big men in exchange for one of these wing players, I don't think that's going to help the Chicago Bulls, at least for the start of the season. And then when I look at the second round picks as a potential sweetener to the deal, I look at it like this. Look, I don't have enough evidence to see how Bryson Graham feels about second round picks. I can only go off what he has shown me and told me about the second round picks he had in this year's draft. He said he ain't like nobody. Now I'm with him saying he ain't like nobody. I ain't, hey, you ain't like nobody. You feel like you want to sell him off. I'm not getting paid from the trades for the cash consideration. I don't give a damn. But what's the point of adding on more second round picks when you have a number of second round picks and you just sold off some second round picks? So that's not really that enticing for me. And then the loss of Jalen Smith, that is not to say Zach Collins can't come back from injury and really help this team be successful for the season. That is not to say that Zach Collins, or maybe if you want to get, freaky with it, for a lack of a better word. I should never said that. If you want to get, if you want to be different, we'll just leave it at that, y'all. Excuse me. If you want to be a little different, you might bring up Toby Awaka from the G League and say, hey, you're going to get some minutes behind a guy like Zach Collins. So I think all those things can be intriguing. I think we do love to hear some trades being mentioned around some players and be like, oh, yeah, we can absolutely utilize them. But this is not the trade that is going to move me per se. I'll be interested to see how Bryson Graham feels about it if this trade was executed. And then I would love to hear him step to the podium and ask him why. That would just be my logic. And the reason I'm saying hold off on this is because while those guys, are young, they can contribute in some way, form, or fashion. I just don't see the value matching or being better than a Jalen Smith, who averaged 10 points last year, gave you 6 rebounds, and shot 37% from the three and shot 48% from the field. I think that's pretty damn good. And I also like what he can potentially bring schematically for the Chicago Bulls. I know you all saw the episode with me and C-Dub discuss if there is even a possibility of him starting. Many of you chimed in and said, nah, you just keep him coming off the bench. And I'm cool with that. It was just a discussion that we wanted to have, or at least I wanted to have. And I drug C-Dub into this mud and we had to have a conversation. But that's the schematic portion of all of this, is that I believe that him with his size, you know what I'm saying, being up there 6'9", 6'10", he'll be able to play with guys like a Caleb Wilson and be able to provide some spacing and the shooting necessary to help Caleb Wilson be able to take advantage of some ISO situations, being able to allow that big man from the opposing team to come out to the three-point line and allow a Josh Giddey to dissect the defense, and a back cut to Caleb Wilson can bring the damn rim down. That's just my logic on it. I think it makes more sense to retain him, at least for now. This is not to say down the road, if a team comes calling, something's not working out with a said player on the same team, that you refuse to listen to offers near the trade deadline. But before some games are being played for the Chicago Bulls, I'd rather hold off. I'd rather enter training camp preseason and regular season with Jalen Smith on this team, unless a call comes through that is better than this Jake LaRavia and Dalton Connect package. But this is the only package that I'm seeing right now. So I'm seeing that there is a lack of value right now. So, and there probably be some concerns in regard to how many games he played last year. Jalen Smith is who I'm talking about. But I think that we just need to accept the fact that this is the team that we're going into the season with. Obviously, there are some rumblings around Bennedict Mathurin that we're going to talk about here shortly, with Bryson Graham being a fan of his. But I think that at least at the moment, you just, coast a little bit. Maybe not put the car in full cruise control, but just coast a little bit and chill out. And that's just how I'm going to rock with it, because at the end of the day, I still think that you need to have some functionality on the basketball team and not just make trades for the sake of saying making a trade, because this is not 2K. This is real life. We can't reset the game and get those wins and losses back. We can't reset it and stack the deck against the opposing team and just go on a 10-game winning streak. These guys actually have to go out here and play basketball. And I think right now, listening to and seeing this trade package for Jake LaRavia and Dalton Connect, it make my stomach hurt. I'll pass. Y'all let me know how you feel about it on the back end down in the comment box, because I say just hold off closer to the trade deadline. Allow Jalen Smith to raise his value if you absolutely want to move off of him. allow him to raise that trade value because people are going to look at that contract and see that it's really good for them. And he could probably go and help a number of teams, especially with his youthfulness and the different things that he can do on the basketball court. So while I'm not going to say absolutely don't trade Jalen Smith, I'm just going to go out and say don't trade him yet. Build the value and don't accept a Jake LaRavia and Dalton Connect trade. I even seen in the article somebody try to throw Jared Vanderbilt in the trade. I'll pass. But hey, now let's move on into some other news. While we talked about the Chicago Bulls potentially being interested in Bennedict Mathurin, there was some interesting words along the lines that Mark Stein said. He was hearing that Bryson Graham is a huge fan of Ben. Now, while that's not a bad thing to be a fan of a basketball player, you know what I'm saying? I think that's fair. I think every GM, front office executive, scouting department, they're going to have their guys that they really, really like. And they're going to go out there and try to either convince themselves or convince those around them that said player will be best suited for the basketball team. Now, the way I view it is, hey, you can like a mug all you want. Don't mess up these books, because I think Bryson Graham is doing a good job so far. I don't want us to get caught up in the love affair. I want us to get caught up in marriage. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to get caught up with adultery. We want to be, this is a long-lasting relationship. You know what I'm saying? And while Ben can come in and be a part of this thing that we're trying to put together, the whole point is don't garner your future and hurt yourself for the sake of saying, I must have this player. I must have this player. I think you still, while you like certain players, you still have to take care of this basketball team at the end of the day. And there are some fair analysis that are out there in regards to Ben joining the Chicago Bulls. I've heard a number of different rebuttals on why certain people don't want Ben coming to the Chicago Bulls. Though I'm on the opposite side of it and saying that, hey, he could very well come in and be a scorer off the bench for the Chicago Bulls and help the Chicago Bulls. The opposing side that said, hey, how he could potentially hurt the development of the young guys coming off the bench who's going to be looking for opportunities to expand their games, to find their roles, to develop within the system. I think some of those you can't completely shoot them down. Although I'm on that one side and saying I believe he can come in and provide that scoring for the young guys off the bench. It is not a perfect trade that will go out there, or well, not a perfect trade, but a perfect scenario to where you absolutely pound the desk and say, yes, this player absolutely fits. While I think he fits, there are some legit arguments in saying that, hey, he could potentially hurt the development of, some of the players that are going to be coming off the bench looking for opportunities to impress their coaches. That be of Dalen Swain, though that be of Noah Essengate, that be of some other players as well. So while Bryson is a fan of him, I just want Bryson to continue to do what you've been doing, bro. Think these things through. Be strategic with it. Don't go out there and for the sake of saying, yeah, we just want to make a trade, which I don't think he has done, or I don't think he will do, at least for right now, during this offseason. It's going to be interesting to see if the Chicago Bulls are really in the mix for this. We're going to definitely be watching to see if the Chicago Bulls really feel like Bennedict Mathurin can come help the Chicago Bulls. And if he is traded to the Chicago Bulls, we're definitely going to be watching at what is shipped out and what, if anything else is coming along with Ben. We're definitely going to be watching that. We're definitely going to be, I know many of us are going to be trying to break down the substance of all of this and how he can impact the Chicago Bulls. Right now, Bennedict Mathurin is looking for, an extension. So that trade will be a sign and trade. So we're definitely going to be watching on the years and the money, how that's going to affect the Chicago Bulls books moving forward, because there's going to be some crucial decisions that the Chicago Bulls are going to have to make down the road here. And the last thing that you want is to be in a cap situation to where you can't take care of the guys that are deserving. That's not to say Ben can't come in and have an impact, But I think that the focal point for the future moving forward is absolutely Montes Buzelis and Caleb Wilson, at least right now at the top of the list. So we'll see what happens with this. Bryson Graham has the right to be a fan of this, but let's make sure, or let's make sure that we're all paying attention on how this whole thing goes down, if it does go down. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of Shy Boys Podcast. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you always see red. Y'all already know I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace.
Cognac. Gang.